Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty complex: alcohol-induced hypogonadism. We're looking at sources that show how ethanol isn't just, a neurotoxin, but how it launches this tri-level attack on the endocrine system.
That's a great way to put it. It really is multifaceted. It hits the system on three fronts at once.
Okay, so what are they?
First, you have central neuroendocrine inhibition, so shutting down signals from the brain. Second, there's direct toxic insult to the Leydig cells.
Right, in the testes.
Exactly, where testosterone is actually made.
Okay.
And third, you get systemic metabolic chaos.
Right.
Basically centered in the liver.
And the thing that really stood out to me from the sources is just how fast this all happens.
Oh, that's incredibly fast.
I mean, with high dose consumption, you can measure a drop in testosterone in as little as 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Which tells you that the central effect, that brain signaling, is absolutely the first domino to fall.
So let's unpack that. How does alcohol actually inhibit the brain's part of the process?
Okay, so it all starts in the hypothalamus. The release of a key hormone, gonadotropin-releasing hormone GnRH, gets shut down.
And how does alcohol do that?
It does it by upregulating the body's own endogenous opioids, things like beta-endorphin. They act like an internal brake on GnRH.
That's wild. So it's hijacking the body's own pain and pleasure system to silence the reproductive signal.
Precisely.
So then does this mean, would people who are opioid dependent also show low T for the same reason?
That's an excellent question, and yes. Both alcohol use disorder and opioid use disorder lead to hypogonadism, which really confirms how critical this pathway is.
Is there direct proof of that link?
There is, and it's compelling.
Yeah.
Studies show that when you pre-treat subjects with naltrexone, that's an opioid antagonist, it actually prevents the alcohol-induced drop in testosterone.
Wow, so blocking the opioid receptor blocks the T suppression.
It proves that pathway is the main channel for that immediate central effect.
Okay, so let's shift from the brain down to the factory floor. The tests themselves, what's happening inside those Leydig cells?
Right. This is where you get pure biochemical disruption. It's fascinating. When ethanol is oxidized in the cell, it just tanks the intercellular NAD plus NADH ratio.
Okay, and for us, what does that mean in simple terms?
Think of the Leydig cell as a factory. NAD plus is the clean fuel needed for the assembly line, the steroid-making enzymes. Alcohol it burns up all that specific fuel.
So the factory's power gets cut.
The power gets cut. The factory is completely unable to manufacture testosterone no matter what signals the brain is sending. It's direct poisoning at the cellular level.
So that's the acute picture. What about the systemic fallout from chronic heavy drinking? Say 15 or more drinks a week, the liver must come into play there.
The liver becomes the absolute key to the whole systemic problem. Chronic exposure ramps up the activity of an enzyme called aromatase.
Aromatase, and that's the one that converts testosterone into
estrogens, like estradiol. So you have this brutal 1-2 punch. You're making less T in the first place, and then what little you have is being actively converted into its antagonist.
Which explains some of the physical changes, like gynecomastia.
It's a core reason for it, yes.
And I remember reading, that's not even the whole story. There's an issue with hormone transport too, right?
Correct. As if that weren't enough, chronic drinking also elevates something called sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG.
And SHBG. It just soaks up the testosterone.
It binds it up. It dramatically reduces the amount of biologically active or free testosterone that's available for your body to actually use.
So, the big question, with all this damage, is AIH reversible? Can the system recover with abstinence?
Thankfully, yes. It's classified as a potentially reversible form of testicular failure.
As long as there's no permanent structural damage.
Exactly. Even spermatogenetic damage is often reversible. But the timeline, it's not instant. The body has to re-equilibrate.
And how can you track that recovery?
That elevated SHBG level we talked about is actually a fantastic marker. Watching it return to normal is a great sign of sustained recovery.
How long does that take?
The sources indicate it can take up to the 12th week of sustained abstinence for SHBG to fully normalize.
12 weeks. 3 months. That really puts a timestamp on the physiological effort of sobriety. It's so much more than just a behavioral change.
It is.
This deep dive, it paints a clear picture of alcohol as a comprehensive toxin, a simultaneous attack on brain signaling, testicular production, and liver metabolism. A true tri-level threat.
It is. And it really leaves you with a final thought to consider. We know that inhibiting nitric oxide synthase can prevent some of this testosterone decline, and we know opioid antagonists like naltrexone work on the central effect.
Right.
So the question becomes, what new pharmacological strategies could we develop to specifically support reproductive health for people who are pursuing recovery from alcohol use disorder?